folks, how's it going? I have another project slash idea video for you today. But first I want to apologize for the traffic noise, if you can hear it through the audio, and also my echoey voice as I am filming this in my garage today. So for the last couple months, I have wanted a piece of exercise equipment known as a reverse hyper. Mainly just to be another tool in the toolbox to train the posterior chain, your back, low back, glutes, hamstrings, all that. Most people need posterior chain training in their life. It's a good thing. We live in a very front-dominated society where everyone wants the front to look good, and also the slouching and hunching over and all this that we do. You need to train the back a little bit. Glutes and hamstrings, healthy glutes and hamstrings, low back, you're good to go. Life's going to be a lot better for you. So, with that being said, I wanted just another tool in the toolbox to train all of that stuff. I don't want to get into the differing opinions on the reverse hyper, whether it's good for you or bad for you. There are proponents and opponents of the reverse hyper, and they both present evidence, both anecdotal and I guess journalistic research evidence, I don't know, studies, but I'm a firm believer that all advice and most evidence cancels out to zero, so just go find out for yourself, which is what I decided to do. And I looked at reverse hypers online. I didn't really want to buy one because of three criteria that are very important to me in pretty much everything I own, really. But especially in a place where I can't, take up a lot of room. There's normally some stuff in that corner and in that corner. I've got my workbench right there, taking up some bunch of space, if you've looked at my other videos and seen my workbench. But I just cleaned all that up for camera sake, look good on camera, production value stuff, But three things that are important to me are price, footprint, and versatility. So reverse hypers online, they are pretty expensive, and that's relative, right? Depending on how much you want to spend, how much you can spend. At this point in my life, with the money that I currently have, I didn't want to spend that amount of money on a reverse hyper. But it also plays into the footprint. They're big. A lot of them are huge. They take up a ton of space. I don't have that kind of space right now. There are some that are smaller and can attach to racks and can fold up and stuff like that. But then that comes into my third point of versatility. How many different things can they do? Most reverse hypers can do one thing very well, which is the reverse hyper exercise. And if you're creative, have an imagination, you can maybe do a couple other things with it. You can do some rows, do some tricep stuff. I'm sure there's a lot more, but because of how they're set up, you really only can do a limited number of things with them. So with that being said, let's get into my build. I built one, and let's get into those three things and how they apply to my reverse hyper. So the first thing that I mentioned is going to be price. I built my reverse hyper for, I have it written down in my notes there, $124.32. Now you could build one for way cheaper than that. I mean, I watched videos where guys are building them for like 20 bucks, 25 bucks, that's pretty good. I like that. But in getting into footprint and versatility, my price kind of rose for some other things that I could do. So let's get into footprint. Mine is in this shot right now. It's actually down there. It's fairly small, which I like because, like I said, I don't have a lot of room. And what it's actually doing down there right now is it's acting as a shelf right now, which brings me to my third point of versatility. And we'll see how I'm gonna rearrange the camera to show all of the things that it can do. But right now, thing number one, it's a shelf for other equipment. I got a bag of some other gym equipment, and I've got a 50-pound sandbag here. And I guess it's being kind of like an incline or decline for my bench. So that's thing number one. Let me rearrange some stuff and we'll get into thing number two. Thing number two is it's a platform to reach this pull-up bar right here. Especially if I'm doing weighted pull-ups, right? I don't want to be having to like jump with weight on your hips. It gets kind of awkward. You got to jump, catch the weight, you know, whatever. Might slip off your hips. If I got some weight on, I can actually put it right here, strap down, step up, got the weight hanging right here, get my feet off, do a couple pull-ups, you know, with some weight. So that's thing number two. Let's move on to thing number three. All right, thing number three is a platform for box jumps and step-ups, right? So if you had some weight in your hands, weight on your back, whatever, wanted to do some step-ups, you got that going. You want to do some box jumps, you got that. Thing number four. Thing number four would be as a hip thrust platform. It was a little high to do it on the last setting, but get a pad. This is also my pad that I stand on in front of my bench. So again, multiple uses, not just one thing. All right, you would roll the weight up or whatever weight you got. Set it up there. You can do some hip thrusts. You got a barbell right here, whatever kind of weight. Down, good to go. Let's get into the fifth thing. These are what are they called? Gonex, G-O-N-E-X rings. I really like them because they are multiple use, versatility. So what number am I? Fifth thing is going to be a Nordic curl, which is also a hamstring low back glute developer. And I like these rings because they got, show you right while we're here, they got numbers, and between each number they have a loop which that carabiner can go into. So I'm going to strap down here fairly tight, and a Nordic curl is basically a curl with your hamstrings. So you'll, right, go down, support yourself up and down if you need to. There's your Nordic curl. What's next? Kind of a GHR, glute ham raise type deal. There. And empty out my pockets. So if you also look at a glute ham raise machine, they're specific. They do one thing very well. But they kind of look like this. You got something that your feet are hooked into. Your knees kind of go on the side and up on. And you basically, it's kind of like a Nordic curl, but there's just another element involved. Tighten this up a little more. Get one more. Right, it allows another kind of pivot in your knee and your hips. Again, use assistance if you need, like so. Next up. The seventh thing that we are on now is going to be a back extension. And I probably could have done this on the lower height while I was already down there. But the way this will work, strap in here. And I'll make it so my hips are on the edge here. So I'll scoot down a little bit. And now I can do a back extension. All right. If I wanted to, grab some weight. Now I've got some back extensions going on. Get into the next thing. And that next thing is going to be basically a body weight or weight of your leg reverse hyper. Put my barbell on the other side to act as a handle. Get a step stool or something, just using a bucket. And there's your body weight or leg weight reverse hyper. If you wanted to add weight, I got my piece of pipe under there. Sorry, I'm all over the place. trying to hurry and make sure things are still in frame, all that kind of stuff. And then my attachment piece. And I'll go into, at the end of the video, into all this and what parts I got, all that jazz. That in there. And then for the weighted piece at the bottom, I bought a 5-foot length of pipe. So you could either use your other piece of pipe, right? Now you've got a place where you can slide weight on there, or again, versatility. If you have these weight storage things, right? It will also work for, I mean, they would work for that much weight, but your extra pipe, you'll be able to load up a lot more. If you are worried about your weight going anywhere, use your collars. I just use 2-inch clamps that you can buy at Lowe's. They work fine on a barbell, anything like that. Keep your weight from going anywhere. Your strap. Put her on there the length you want. That should be good. Double checking, make sure everything will be in camera still. Twist that once. Now you've got some weighted reverse hypers on there. What else? I have a hinge here, so if it's turned around, it's going to stay straight. But the hinge here, I don't know if it really works, but one thing that you can kind of do with it is if you curl, it makes it so there's a little bend there, right? And it makes it so this cut doesn't come up if this was straight. Sometimes it comes up and it hits your knee, but that allows a little bend there. So that's reverse hypers and hamstring curls, which was the 8th thing. If we move on to the 9th thing, so the, what am I now, 9th thing, yes, is a shelf for, this might be a little tall, but if you're running any kind of sandbag or Atlas stone or anything like that, you know, you can use it as a shelf to throw up there. And I'm making this look harder than it is. I mean, it's only 50 pounds. But, you know, any sort of shelf like that, and you can set it as high as you want, depending on your rack. But that was number 9. Getting kind of warm and out of breath. All this moving around, I apologize. 10th thing. Gonna go up a little higher again. So just for reference, I'm 6 feet tall. That's probably at 6'4", 6'6", maybe, right there. 6'8", to the top, who knows. But now, because it's got that, the bearings and this swivel bar, throw some weight on my straps. String it up over and I have a towel. Alright, these for handles. Get some tricep press downs in here. Might swing on you a little bit. Get some press down work. Get some, make sure I'm going to stay in frame here. Something to sit on. If it's too high, these straps, you can, or too low, I should say, if your weight's running into the ground. Take it up there just a little bit. I've got some extensions. I can do some lat pull down type exercise. Do straight arm pull downs. Face pulls. If I back up far enough, I'll be out of frame, but doing some row type things. So that's 10 things they can do. If we move on to the 11th, just making sure I'm still in frame. We're doing a lot of moving around here. The 11th thing, I don't know if you've ever been to like a Fit Expo, FitCon, whatever, the fair. Sometimes like state and county fairs have them. Sometimes they're just out on the street in a festival-like atmosphere, but who knows if those will ever happen again now that 2020 has been a thing. They have a thing called a Hang to Win Challenge, which is basically the same setup. It's a pull-up bar that swivels and rotates. This is an inch, almost a 2-inch diameter pipe. It's not quite 2 inches. And that's probably about what theirs is, maybe a little smaller. But the Hang to Win Challenge, if you hang for 100 seconds, you get $100. You have to be pronated or supinated, either or. You can't have a combo grip because that counteracts the swivel or oscillation movement. But basically, if you just hang for 100 seconds, you can get $100. And what makes it tough is, you know, it's wanting to rotate out of your hands. No matter which way you go, So it's good finger strength, forearm builder, hand strength, grip strength. And I could go one more slot higher, but it gets a little dicey lifting this thing up that high. I can go wide grip, I can go narrow grip, you know, just practice that. So that's a lot of breath here. That's 11 things that I can do with this setup here. I don't know, can you do 11 things with a regular reverse hyper? Maybe. Is it this small? No. Is it this cheap? No. It's all three of those things that come together. Price, size, versatility. So, all those exercises being demonstrated, let me readjust a little bit and we'll go into what exactly components I am using. That way you can get an idea if this is something you want to do yourself. All right, so for this portion, I'm going handheld. So forgive the shakiness of the camera. I'll do the best I can. So I've got everything set up minus weight, because if you're building one of these, you already have your own weight plates. You understand that. And also a rack. Like, this is based on having a rack. I don't know if I said that earlier, but obviously based on all the levels I did, you'll need a rack or some sort of adjustment. So starting out with, this is two 2x10s, and it was based on the width that I needed. They were ripped just a little bit. Had them cut to the dimensions that I needed. But two of them, I got one this way, and then the cross supports, I went the opposite way. And I did it in total 48 inches wide. And granted, these measurements may not apply to you, but I did it 48 inches wide to fit, you know, where I had it down there as a shelf. 48 inches wide, but then these notches here, so that sits on the safety arm here, but then it sits just inside of the safety arms on either side. So it's not going to slide off the edge, and it's actually on the back side, it wedges in there pretty good. So I mean, it's in there pretty solid, and as you can see, I was doing all kinds of stuff on it, box jumps, all kinds of stuff. I don't have any worries about this going anywhere when I'm doing anything on it. So 2x10s, and then a couple of 2x4s that acted as my kind of my base for my bearings. And I did that because of other measurements that I've seen on reverse hypers. From the flat surface where you sit or lay your stomach on, from there to the bearings was like 5-6 inches. And in order to get that, I just needed a 2x4 in there. I was going to go bearing straight to the 2x10s, but that put it a little too close. It also made it so your lever arm would stop basically parallel with the ground and with the bench top. Whereas now, since it's set a little below, you get a little bit higher than parallel. And I mean, you don't need to go crazy high up there anyways, just maybe a few degrees past parallel. So that's wood screws to hold them all together. And then these are 2-inch, sorry for the shakiness, arm's getting a little tired. These are 2-inch diameter bearings. I got both of these in like a 2-pack on Amazon for I think $37 and some change. So 2-pack, 2-inch diameter bearings, and I went 2-inch diameter knowing that I could put a smaller pipe in there. Right? If you go inch diameter bearing or 3/4 inch diameter bearing, you're stuck with 3/4 inch and smaller. But now I have 2 inch, so I'm got 2 inch down to 3/4 inch. Anything below 2 inches, I could put a pipe in there and it would work. Speaking of the pipe, I got the pipe at a local steel supplier, which was, I got a 5-foot piece of Schedule 40 pipe. This is not quite 2 inches. Again, I don't know the diameter. They didn't have a exactly 2 inch outer diameter pipe, but got that there. 5 feet was like 18 bucks. And I mean, I could load hundreds of pounds on that and it's not going anywhere. What is holding this assembly basically together, holding the bearings through, is just 5/8 inch nuts and bolts, right? So 6 inch bolts go all the way through on 2 of them on both bearings with associated nuts and washers. The pendulum, the arm, was a 4x4 piece of lumber that I cut down to length, and the way I determined the length was actually a video on Garage Gym Reviews with Coop. He was doing some measurements and measuring production reverse hypers. So I just kind of based it on that, how much space I needed when my weights are actually on here. They've got to be able to clear the floor, all that jazz. And then some production reverse hypers have a like a moment arm or a separate pendulum in them, which is why I put just a 3.5 inch hinge on here, a door hinge. And this is it says Gatehouse. I don't know if that really matters. That's the brand. But 4x4s are not actually 4x4. Just so you're aware, they're 3.5 by 3.5. So this is a 3.5 inch hinge. It was the strongest one, or it looked the strongest at Lowe's when I went. There were some real simple ones, but I went as heavy duty as possible. And that was few bucks. I don't remember exactly how much. And then just 3-inch wood screws. I've got it screwed in there. And sorry if my camera's all over the place. I'm talking and explaining while doing this. The excess 4x4 wood I put down there in the corners of my rack, and those basically just act like I don't even know the word I'm trying to use, just like they elevate the platform enough that my bearings don't hit the floor. Because if those weren't there, the bearings would hit the floor before the actual stand here, before this actual plank here ran into my rack arms. I will pause the camera, go ahead and readjust and put it down there so you can see. Oh, I guess before I do that, to drill holes in the 4x4, I used a 2-inch diameter hole saw, which again, I already had a sufficient drill. If you're using a hole saw, you'll need a good drill. I've burned out drills with hole saws before. So yeah, I mean, it cost me 124. Is that what I said? 124? No, I can't remember. Yeah, 124 bucks. But granted, I had some tools. I've got a rack. I had black stain. I had wood screws. You know, there is some cost that isn't included in that 124 bucks if you're starting from 100% scratch. So again, let me readjust the camera and I will show you how they sit down on those blocks down there. All right, so we're on the floor here and it is put in its spot down there where it was, acting as a shelf. And I've got maybe a 2-inch clearance on there from the floor to the bearings. Right. And there's the extra 4x4 that I had in there on both sides. This sits up there because, like I said, if those weren't there, the bearings would be sitting on the ground. Since they're round on this edge, it would tilt my shelf a different way. And just kind of showing you some angles now to show you how it's sitting on there. Maybe if you just want some ideas of your own. All right, well, that's my setup. Hopefully it gives you some ideas, maybe something you can do on your own. And if you realized in watching this that there is something else that I could do with this, please let me know in the comments. I'd be overjoyed if there was more than 11 things that I could do with this. Just make it more versatile. But yeah, hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.